everybody. My name is Noelle McKenzie, and I'm the owner and founder of Unmuted Creative. This is We Are Unmuted, an interview series where we get real about people's journeys, the ups, the downs, the wins, the lessons, and how they've been unmuting in their lives. Welcome back to We Are Unmuted, the podcast where we break barriers, push boundaries, and refuse to play by the rules that were never built for us in the first place. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who has been rewriting the rules of an entire industry, Jason Everett. Jason started his career as a third-generation entrepreneur, went on to become a globally recognized speaker, trainer, business coach, and mentor with a focus on human performance. He founded High Performance Salon Academy to help salon owners add 100K in profit, and he's also a best-selling author of Prove Them Wrong, The High Performance Guide to Building a Six-Figure Beauty Career, and Profitable Salon Owner, Rise Above the Chaos in Your Business and Reignite Your Passion and Profits. He's known for his high energy, high results, and the mindset shifts that help people break through the ceilings that they have been told to live under. Honestly, he is exactly what we look for in a We Are Unmuted guest.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's a dangerous introduction. I hope I live up to that hype train you just dropped for me. So thank you. And if GPT wrote that from my office or whatever, like, thanks. That's all I'm going to say. I sound cooler than I am sometimes. And my goal is just to be a dad to my boys, a husband to my wife, and hopefully do some cool stuff along the way. And I love when I have opportunities to be on shows like this. So thank you. And I hope I can bring some things. I actually just did a whole class on breaking rules and how your entire life is made up of rules that are made up by other people and you don't have to follow them all. So I think we're on the right timing. I think God was like, here, do this exactly. So I feel like I already show prep for this thing from my call last week. So I'm stoked about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Unmuted Creative. I named my agency that because
Let's go.
I felt like after all the time in my own industry, it's kind of a lot of the same things over and over, but we're creatives. Why are we not breaking boundaries and doing things that are different? So that was my testament to Unmuted Creative and the clients and brands that I work with.
Let's go.
But now the podcast is a way to bring other industries into that. And when I saw what you were speaking about with High Performance Salon, I'm like, okay, I have to know, how did you get into that? That alone is, to me, unmuted. It's very different. So where and how did that all start?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked me this because somebody just said it yesterday. I was saying, I always say I'm an adopted family member of the salon and spa industry. And I'm like, that's how I look at it. And I'm like, because I didn't come from salon spa, like I'm from business and sales and marketing background stuff, but not from the salon spa space. And I always say, I did some work for salon spa industry. I did a training with a company called Massage Envy back a couple years ago. Worked with over 100 locations for Massage Envy, helped them grow sales by a couple $1 million. I was doing sales training and some work with them. And, 26 locations helped them grow by $2.6 million in 6 months. And then I wanted to work with over 100 locations and did millions and millions of dollars worth of new revenue. And they were like, this is crazy good. And then I got introduced to a couple other brands. The big one that I got introduced to kind of early was a hair care brand called Redken and L'Oreal. And yeah, they're cool brands, part of the L'Oreal family of brands. And I did a bunch of work with them for years and years. They put me on stage in front of the most people I've ever been in my life, in front of 10,000 people in the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. And it blew my friggin' brains. And I just have been working in that industry for years. And so, this guy I was talking to the other day, he said, Jason, you didn't, you weren't adopted in this salon spa space. He's like, you came in to help them reinvent themselves and make them even bigger and better than they were before. And I was like, man, I feel like it's already an incredible industry. Like what did one dude do, And they were like, well, you've helped push the standard and raise the energy and like do some incredible things. And you mentioned my book. I wrote a best-selling book called Profitable Salon Owner that we wrote for the industry to help them actually make a profit. And then I actually have a book coming out. I don't know what time the podcast comes out, but it releases on this next Monday from our recording, but it literally releases. It's called, and this book, which is kind of on the same thing, is called Prove Them Wrong. And this book comes out on Monday. And the Prove Them Wrong book is really about helping people break their barriers and make over six figures in the beauty industry. A lot of people think that like it's a second class citizen sort of job to go in the beauty and style industry, and like, oh well, if you can't get a real job, maybe you can go be a hairstylist or something. But I work with people who make millions and millions of dollars. And I think the deal is it's very different when you understand getting paid well for your art. And I think the reason why I've been able to work well in this industry is I'm wired for art and performance, but I'm also wired for business. And those two combos don't often come together. And that's where I've been able to come in and say, hey, I'm going to turn you guys into not just incredible human beings for what you do and what you love to do, but also to get paid well for it. And so that's my
Absolutely.
gift. And that's what I like to bring to the table.
I love that. It's
Yeah,
similar in opening what I did with Unmuted. It's been so hard to shift from designer and creative to business owner.
100%.
Something I know a lot of people talk about in different industries, but I don't hear a lot of people in my own industry talking about like that weird shift where we were behind the desk our entire career
Yeah.
designing stuff and using that side of our brain. And if we
Mm,
do want to move forward and open something of our own to continue doing what we love even more, you
yeah.
have to shift who you are almost tenfold. And it's been a
Yeah.
journey for me. So it's interesting hearing you talk about it in a different uh,
Well, going from a doer to becoming a designer, and I say designer not as like a graphic designer, but
yeah.
going from a doer to being somebody who designs a business, you
Mhm.
design a life and you design that. It's very different, but it's still creative. It's still one of the coolest processes. You get to build something creative. And actually, this month is my 17th year in business of
Wow.
running my own company. And I feel very old for saying 17 years in business, but it's one of those games that I'm like, man, it's been a long time, but I also just feel like there's so many things you get to learn about yourself, and the greatest gift is being able to try and start your own business. 85% of businesses fail, and so if you can be one that makes it, especially 17 years worth of make it, you're doing really well. And if you make it over $1 million, you're in the 1% of businesses that do that. That's even better. And I think there's just incredible things, and so I help businesses hit their first million, second million. I have clients I just don't with a client who does 30 million a year, and I just think that there's so many incredible things that you can do if you just serve the right people.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm gonna ask some of my silly questions too.
None of them are silly. The only thing that's silly is that how cute that puppy is. So I know you have an unfair advantage. I was trying to be cool in this podcast, show up in my sweet jacket. You came with a puppy. How am I supposed to win? How am I supposed to win? There's no way to do it.
I don't know. She's just so sweet, my little Miss
She's
Lola.
very sweet. Yeah,
Yeah, she'll
100%.
pass out soon. I have a funny Halloween finger on because I've
Hmm.
found that that is the easiest way to get her not to chew on my fingers, but
Fair.
on a finger. And, class
I
tip
got
for
it. Well,
anybody
that
watching.
sounds like you figured it out. So I love it. But she's
Yeah.
definitely stealing the show on cuteness factor. So if you're watching on video, you know.
Absolutely. All right. So if your voice had a volume setting in life, what number would it be right now?
Are you going to give me the scale? Like, is it
It's
a scale of 1 to 10, or just what's the volume setting?
1 to
Um,
10. Fine.
Okay, well, yeah, 1 to 10. I think it's funny. So I used to have okay, funny story. I used to have an uncle that was a dumpster diving person. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he would go behind grocery stores, and whatever they would throw out that was
Yeah.
like, like one can exploded and they threw out all the cans, he would get those cans and he'd come to every party and event. Anyway, he gave me a Christmas gift one year that it was a boom box, like a CD player and a tape deck and all that stuff.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
had a bass boost button and a max volume button. And for whatever reason, this boombox had the max volume button
Oh, yeah.
removed because somebody like took it out to go add
Right.
it to something else. And I always thought it was funny. I'm like, hey, it's missing a thing. He's like, you don't need the max volume button. And I was like, if I was anything, I'm the max volume button. Like, that's me. Like, it's ironic that that button was missing, but I just look at it and I go, I think I'm that guy. Like, I love to crank it up. I love to like push it right to the boundary. And there's this interesting thing that happens when you turn on volume. Like you turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, and like when you turn up volume in your car speakers or something, you kind of like know like where does it crack, like where does
Right.
it start to not work, and you just back it off just a little bit. I'm like, that's where I'd like to be, just right there, right before I'm blowing up the speakers or hurting your ears. I want to be 1 degree, one click shy of that. That's me probably most of the time. Is that a good answer?
That's a perfect answer. I feel
Okay,
like,
hopefully gives you some tone.
oh yeah, I feel like after seeing you live too and watching the way not everybody can do right at that level and not be a little bit too much or just trying too hard. I think
It's
you nailed
sometimes I'm
it.
too much for
No.
people. I just say I'm too much for the wrong people,
There you
right?
go.
Like, and that's the deal. It's like
There
I
you
had
go.
this poster in my office for a long time that said, "Only those that are willing to go too far will ever know how far they can go." And
Absolutely.
that exact analogy I gave you of like turning it up and then just backing off one notch, that's
Right.
the space I live in. So people are like, "Oh, Jason, you're too much." And I'm like, "Well, it's too much for you," and I'll just back it up. Like you were my guardrails to say, "Okay, I'll
Yeah.
come down like one more notch." Just for the mere mortals that I'm talking to, that's totally fine. And not to be a pompous ass, I just mean I try to crank it to where I'm like, "Okay, I don't offend most people. Okay, let's turn it down just a little bit."
I don't know. I had a great time watching you. It was like
Thank you.
three panelists before you two, or like two and then one. It was a pretty
Yeah,
long day. They were
sure, for
all
sure.
very interesting. I had a really good time, but by the third one, I was like, okay, I don't know if
You're
I
like,
can
I'm
make it.
good.
I'm tired from lunch.
Yeah.
They
Who
fed
is this
us.
Yahoo?
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Then you got on and you made everybody start waving their hands and do things.
People were
And
excited and pumped.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
there
yeah.
was a lot of people that were like ready to tone it down. So if you can have that gift to be
Yeah.
able to bring people out of that, I love that. I think it
I like to activate people, and my wife calls me an accelerant.
uh
She's like, you're like, if something's on fire, you can pour little Jason on there and you like go crazy. But if it's a wet log and it's not on fire, you pour some Jason on it, nothing happens. So like you have to have a little bit of fire in you in order for me to take it further, but I will gladly turn up the fire you already have.
I love that. Well, I'm curious. I know you said that you've kind of been in this industry throughout, but what
Yeah.
was the very first thing that inspired you to get into that field?
In the beauty industry in general, or just
Yeah.
in marketing or business, or which part? Or
Beauty
all?
specifically, all actually. Let's start beauty
Yeah. I
and
mean,
move our way through.
I mean, this is gonna be kind of interesting. Like, if I take you through the long history of this stuff, not to take you back to like, the day I was born or anything, but like, if I take you back to what I did, I've always been a performance artist. I love being on
Okay.
stages. When I was younger, I was on stage. I was actually on a television show randomly, like
What?
way back. Well, not like a big deal. I was just like, there was a
Still.
television show that I like made an appearance on, and like I was able to like show up for this TV show in the '80s and like did this thing, and like it was one of those things that just like, oh, that's cool. Like I like the idea of the attention to what was there. Like I thought that was kind of cool. And then I got into acting and performance. So anything performance related, I was on stage for. So, I was in all the nerdy things like band and choir and theater and like that kind of nerdy stuff. But then I was also like lead singer in an actual band. Like there's the nerdy band, like I'm playing at football games because I'm in the band. And then I was like a lead singer in a cool band that girls were like, oh my God, like that kind of vibe. I was in both of those ends. And
Fun.
I just was like, all right, I love the performance aspect. I love putting on a show. I like entertaining. I like creating experiences. And I left kind of doing some of the performance art, and I really liked the performance, if you will, of business and accelerated performance. So I got into what did I get into? I became a ballroom dance instructor randomly, like because I was like, if there's a great way to meet girls is you could go be a ballroom dance instructor. So so I got a job as a ballroom dance instructor and started performing that way. And then they had this amazing business training program that like helped me hit my first $100,000. And like I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I got into sales and marketing and business, and I was like, wow, there's a different level of performance out there. And so they
Mm,
kind of taught me not just like performing on stage is cool, but making a business is even better. And then
yeah.
I got into radio advertising and marketing, and then I was working for a street team and promotional marketing company like the Red Bull street teams. I was
Uh,
doing it for Baskin Robbins, Comcast Cable, the U.S. Army, Warner Brothers Pictures. I did a movie with them, and I did some really cool stuff. And I kept taking a couple things I had in my pocket, the ability to create experience for people. Like, because
yeah.
when you're on stage, you're creating experience for some of the audience.
That's
And I was taking that experience and teaching it in the form of how do I create brand experiences and how do I create radio experiences? How do I create television appearances? How do I create all these different things? And it became this experience business. But what I realized is in the experience of most businesses, the experience that is lacking in almost every company is their ability to sell
mm,
and like their sales ability and their ability to like not be like used car sales scammy hammy like that kind of garbage, but to
mhm.
really create an experience that people just are ready to buy. It's like, why is it that people love sales but hate to be sold? Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like people are like, oh my God, it's on sale. And they'll like run in for Black Friday. But like if they're like, I want to sell you something, like, ew, salespeople are gross. And so
Yeah.
the psychology of creating an environment and an impact where people are willing to buy something is very different. So I explored that for years and years. And then I bought a sales training company. And that's how I got involved with Massage Envy and Redken. And like what I love about all those brands is they create experiences for people to buy. And
Yeah.
if you can create experience for people to buy, like I did it with Philosophy Skincare, Bare Minerals, and I know I feel like I'm just dropping out all these
Oh,
cool
I
names,
love
but
it.
like I say those names because they're companies I've all really worked with, and like all those companies are experiential companies.
Mm-hmm.
They value the guest experience. They value the client coming in the store. Like when I worked at Nordstrom's, like Nordstrom's is designed around your experience of walking in the store and how you're treated by the customer. And like I just love designing experiences. So now, fast forward to what I'm doing. Yes, I run something called the High Performance Salon Academy, which is training for salon owners. But I also run something called High Octane Adventures, where I take people on these once in a lifetime bucket list style adventure trips. Like I just got back from Alaska, where we took helicopters out to a glacier, jumped in glacier water and did cold plunges, and then went and drove dog sleds, and then watched glaciers flip in a giant bay up outside of Anchorage.
What?
Yeah, so I do these crazy things. And my next one I just announced so I can talk about it finally. I'm
Okay.
super pumped about it. I have one coming up in February where I'm taking a bunch of entrepreneurs and business owners to go down and we're going to literally fly in jet suits like Iron Man.
What?
Like literally put a backpack on. They have military testing the week before we're there. Then we get one day where we get to fly in these jet suits and then we get to do some cool stuff. And so
Oh my
I'm
God.
just such a fan of like creating like experiences that people will never forget.
Yeah.
And I love stuff like that. I mean, next week I'm doing an event on taking people and I'm gonna take them fire walking next week. We're gonna do ice baths next week. We're gonna do some cool stuff.
Wow. And that's part of what part of your
It's part of just me, man. It's if you hang out with me long enough, you'll eventually walk on fire. Not
Okay,
only
I
in the
like
belief in
it.
yourself, but I do an event called Unleashed Human that
That's
people
what it
come
was.
and walk on fire. The other event is called High Octane Adventures. But
Okay,
I
yeah.
would just say what I've realized is like, my personality, and hopefully if you're listening and hanging with us, just kicking it, like, you hopefully get a little of the intensity that I live by, right?
I love it though.
Is I kind of have this high octane life and I don't really have a good slow button. Like my slow button's kind of broken. So I have to force myself to sit, meditate, and be quiet sometimes. But my goal is to help people introduce more energy and excitement in their life. And that's another book I'm working on for the future that'll come out is called Energy on Demand and showing people how they can harness their energy and use it in the appropriate moments to create the life that they really love. And that's what I'm all about, man, is getting the most out of the time that we have because you never know. You might have 5 minutes, you might have 5 years or 50, but let's get it.
Amen. I feel like I'm at the beginning of that stage. I've always been in like corporate America kind of, and this new chapter in my own personal life is like
Mm,
I've let my foot finally push the gas fuller,
good.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Yeah, it does.
I feel like maybe in a little bit I'll be ready for those high octane adventures.
Hey, man, that's half the fun.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the name of this whole thing is We Are Unmuted, and when I saw you originally, I knew you would be perfect for this, but
Well, thank you. It's good to
yeah.
be here, by the way. This is fun.
Yeah. What does it mean to you though when you hear the word unmuted? I'm curious.
Well, okay, this is gonna be funny. So, first gut instinct is like, when you're on Zoom and you're trying to talk, but you're muted, and they're like, unmute, please, unmute, unmute, unmute. And so I think that's like
So,
that. And but here's how I feel about that.
parallel.
I think most people in life are playing the game of spectator,
Hmm.
and they do have their microphone on mute.
Yep.
And I just think like that's why I'm saying like it's a kind of a funny analogy that most people use. If you use Zoom before, you've heard somebody yell like unmute yourself.
Yeah.
And I think for so many people, like the reason why you mute yourself is you don't want to be heard. And
Mhm.
I think the analogy of being on Zoom is like behind the scenes, we all have stuff going on. Like, your puppy's in your lap and your puppy's being very quiet, right? But like most people have like their children around them and the siren outside and whatever. And you're like, let me just mute myself so I don't interrupt everybody. I don't want to disturb everybody. I don't want to bother everybody. I don't want to do it. But then what ends up happening, especially as a facilitator, is I'm like, you're looking for people to give you feedback and they look at you like you're a YouTube video. And I have to say that to people all the time. I'm like, hey, like I'm a real, like, I know people are listening to this podcast right now, so you can't like interact with us. But most people are just consumers, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
People like watching TV. They like listening to podcasts. No offense to your podcast listeners, but like, we like to consume. We
Mhm.
don't like to contribute very often. It's like people would rather sit down and watch TV for 3 hours than sit and make art. And
Yeah.
so we become this kind of world of consumers. And you either in consumer mode or creator mode.
Mhm.
And like I am not a person that it's gonna sound silly, but I'm not a person who likes professional sports. Like I'm not a consumer sports person in general. What I mean by that is like if my children aren't playing, I don't know the score. You know what I'm saying? Like I have kids and I coach my son's soccer team and like if he's playing, I'm paying attention. But if
Mhm.
my kids aren't playing, it doesn't matter to me. It's not something I'm into. But what I would say is we have evolved as a culture to be a spectator society. And this is gonna sound horrible, but like I'm anti-spectator.
Ah.
Like I don't like, and even when you were in my classroom, right? Like when I was in the class, whatever, I'm like, if you're just gonna sit there and watch me, like you might as well just leave. This is gonna suck for you
Yeah.
because I want you engaged, I want you enrolled, I want to like drag you out from behind your couch. Like I want you to play along because life requires that you get involved. And if
Yeah.
you're like, I want to fix my marriage, I want to fix my parent-child relationship, I want to fix my relationship with my friend, like you can't like sit and read a text message and then craft your perfect response and send it back to him. That's spectator mode. And if you can get out of being a spectator and you can jump in the game of your actual life and play along,
Mhm.
then it becomes fun and you're playing the game. And I think that idea of being unmuted, back to what you asked about, that
Mhm.
idea of being unmuted is when you mute yourself, you're not playing the game. You've moved into spectator mode. That's how I look at it. I don't know if that's exactly how your full frame is, but that's what I look at when I hear unmuted, is
Mhm.
that people put themselves in that back seat and they're okay not being heard.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, part of this whole experiment and asking this question is I'm curious what people think about being unmuted. And everybody I've ever asked so far has some philosophy of life behind it. Just from a
Mm,
word that obviously when I think of unmuted, I think of Zoom too. Like how many times has my client been like, you're on mute, you know?
right.
But in life, when we quiet who we are just to fit into a certain space, you're changing whatever your gift is, whatever your light is that you bring into this world. And I think we do it so effortlessly for whatever
Mm,
reason in this day and age. And I want to somehow, in a little way, just for me, to bring that out of people and feel like they can at least shine around me. So that's
fair.
at least my goal. And then with my clients, obviously, and working with them and designing, I do that for their brands. So it's a different avenue, but I think that's why I started the podcast. I just wanted to be able to dive into people's worlds and see how they're able to shine. And yeah, so
Fair.
interesting. Um, were there any like barriers that you faced when you first started uh, being your very unmuted self within your work and your business? Like I know for me, I've
Yeah.
toned myself down my whole life. Or like, okay, pink hair, gauges, tattoos. I'm obviously perceived
Clearly,
one
clearly.
way, right? Even with design, some people like they will see me if they don't know my work, they automatically think it's like, what's the word they use? Urban. And I'm like,
Urban. Yeah.
I'm super corporate. Like I've always been a very
Yeah.
corporate designer. So it's shifting that perspective. But what barriers have
Yeah.
you faced?
I mean, I've really not ever had any barriers at all in my life. It's all been pretty easy. I was very successful at a very young age. Nobody ever said anything bad about me. And it's been, people just throw money at me. It's pretty much how it works. So I don't have any value to add there. Next
Awesome.
question. Is that okay? Said the guy
Come
out of
on.
extreme sarcasm.
Yeah.
Look, okay, so you have to remember I told you I used to be a ballroom dance instructor, okay?
Yeah.
And like I loved being a ballroom dance instructor. That's how I met my wife, and I love my time there because it was fantastic. But it also taught me how to wear the most obnoxious, ridiculous clothes you've ever seen.
Oh
I had more like random sequin shirts and just
yeah.
shiny things you could ever imagine. Anything that you could possibly go, that's probably what he wore. I wore that. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. And when I got a job in my first corporate job, I got a job for a company called Clear Channel here in Sacramento, which was
Oh
the
yeah.
Clear Channel. They're also owned by, they bought out eventually Bill Graham Presents, and they're part of, what is it, radio.com or whatever. I don't know what it is now,
Yeah.
but some version of that.
Yeah, one of the radio stations.
Anyway, there's one of the like, yeah, radio.com things. Anyway, um, oh, iHeartRadio. That's what it is.
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio
Yeah.
now. So iHeart. That was before it was iHeart, but I worked for them for years and years, and I worked in radio, not on air as talent, but as a
Mhm.
salesperson. I was
Okay.
a salesperson selling air. And that if you've ever wanted to know, trust what you do, man, sell something intangible like radio time.
Yeah.
But I had this manager, his name was Henry. And he probably won't listen to this podcast, so I'm going to sell out his full name. Maybe nobody will ever know. But his name was Henry Grambergue. And I will never forget something he said to me. Is he sat me down and he said, Jason, um, I think you're good at what you do, but you will never work with big companies because you're not professional enough.
Ooh, ouch.
And he was like, I need you to do me a favor. I just need you to get rid of all these crazy clothes you have. I need you to just go buy some blue and white shirts. I need you to buy a black suit and a navy suit and like stop wearing anything with personality because I can never sit you down with Bank of America. They'll never take you seriously.
Oh.
And I remember like he was not my manager who hired me, his manager who took over. And I was like, okay. And I literally went out and bought all these like brown suits and like
Yeah.
crappy clothes. And I was like, all right, I'll just brown out and like, make brown and blue and black and whatever. And I did that. And it did make me marginally more money, but it made my soul rot.
Yeah.
And so I've always been like, even today, like I'm wearing like, dude, I'm wearing like striped
Black.
pants and I got like all kinds. Like I got like, dude, I live in a spot where I'm like, dude, my brand is like, I want some cool track jacket or I want some shiny
Yeah.
pattern or I want something. Like I really don't like to not stand out at all. Or if I can like rock some cool glasses, like I didn't put them on for the podcast. I'll put them on the rest of the podcast. My like blue glasses today. I'm like,
Perfect.
I want some stuff that makes me just lit, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized is like that was Henry's mute for me. Like
Absolutely.
Henry's like, hey man, I got to mute you a little bit because you're not corporately digestible, which is friggin' hilarious because I work with some of the biggest companies on planet Earth. I've literally
Yeah.
flown to Paris to work with L'Oreal, one of the largest brands on the planet, top 100 brands in the world, that were like, holy crap, Jason, because of who you are, we love working with you.
Yeah.
And like what I just realized is like that was Henry's perception, and somebody I'm sure had muted Henry way
Yeah.
back in the day. So I don't fault him for it. But like I needed to kind of go through that experience and I muted myself really hard. And then I realized like, oh no, my gift is working with like entertainers and people in the beauty industry and people and like in my industry, like they're like, what's Jason gonna wear next? And I'll get on stage with a suit inside out that's got like flamingo leopard print, something or other.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh Jason, you're crazy. And they're like, yeah, and they're screaming for me. Like when I was in front of 10,000 people, I got on stage in this like neoprene black avant-garde crazy jacket and people freaking loved it. And it's like I just realized, and that's that chronic saying is like you are valued where your people are, and you
Yeah.
got to find your people. And like there's billions of people on this planet, and like don't ever let somebody let you think that their opinion is everybody's opinion.
Hmm.
And I think that's when you say struggles, I think that was one of the biggest struggles for me was trying to like my identity was really big and bold, and then it got muted, and
Yeah.
then it wasn't until I like pulled the gloves off. And actually, I just saw a video today. My team just shared it with me. Is there's a video where I'm probably at the peak of my muted phase, where
Mm.
I'm like, here's my corporate sellout version
Oh.
of me, and then you watch this evolution where I go like corporate sellout to I get fat and
Oh.
like fat and like kind of a adjustment of
Correct.
clothing, and then I like get thin and healthy and happy and all my style comes back again. And I
There
was
you
like, but that's what happens, right? You like deny yourself and you figure these things out, and then you become yourself, and then everything just resurrects itself. So anyway, I
That's
could probably tell you 1,000 other stories if you want of challenges, but I'm saying that was the one that probably was the most telling for me, that like muted me
yeah.
the most, and then I was able to get over it and get past it.
Yeah. All right, Henry, if you're listening, you're fired.
Oh, it's
Sorry,
hilarious.
Henry.
Yeah, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
It's funny the things that stick with us though, right? Like that one thing, it could be a milestone, and it was a milestone in your life, and you were
For
able to
sure.
look back at that one
It's been a
little,
long time. It was back in like whatever 2005 or something.
yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
But it is hard to stay being yourself in the fields that want you to not be yourself while selling
Yeah,
something that is supposed to be out there and different. And you're supposed to be on
yeah,
radio and it's a little bit of glam. Like you are
yeah. I mean, we were doing cool stuff. I'm like hanging out
right.
backstage with Jewel and John Mayer and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like,
Wow.
none of those people are like none of those people are like small
Muted.
people. But like that guy was like that's who it is. And so it took me. I mean that was like 10, 20 years worth of damage to my self and
So,
psyche and
yeah.
whatever. And like the last couple of weeks I've been really just in it, being like, okay, who is Jay? Like, if I'm really high octane, like what high octane is my life, and how do I just live in that space all the time? And so, still working on it, man. Every day, still
Yeah.
working on it.
Well, and who you are as a person inside versus who your brand are,
Yeah, totally.
is, are, is
Is, are, was,
is
are,
our all of
should,
the things.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the above. But it's hard when you are your brand, right? How do you be one
Yeah.
thing
It's
and another? It's
Well, but when you're your brand, this is what I just say about that, is when you're your brand, you have to live out your brand in its full entirety. And what I've realized is like the books I've written and things like that, they won't get written until I live out my brand every day. So if
Mhm.
I'm living out my brand, and by the way, the brand should just be a turned up version of me, right? Like if you hang
Right.
out with me when I'm just chilling on my couch with my wife, like it's a
Mhm.
turned down version of Jason. I don't live like high octane every second with my kids, but
Yeah.
they know that dad's crazy. Like my son, we were doing these questions last night and it was like, get to know you with your family. And my
Oh,
son had this question. It was like, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done, Dad? That's the question he asked me. And I looked at him like, what do you think it is? He's like, I don't know. know you've had so many. Like my kids know I'm high octane, right? They know.
Yeah.
They're like, was it the time you jumped out of the helicopter, or when you drove the tanks, or when you flew the stunt planes? Like they know, they know, But like, it's just. But when I'm on video or on camera on stage, it's just all it is like I let a little bit more of my personality leak out. That's all it is. And I like to say I live as much as I can in my personality, but there's variations of it. There's turned up and turned down. I
Yeah.
just don't want to turn it down so low that I become muted.
Yeah, you lose yourself too.
Hmm.
I know my kids are 3 and 6, and the energy you have to have for children is a lot. And now a
Yes,
puppy because I thought, yep,
because that's the right call. Yeah,
let's just make it wild.
yeah,
But yeah,
fair.
kids have a way of bringing that out. I feel like when I had my kids, that's when I started to find who I really was, because you don't want to leave a legacy behind that is something that they won't value or know who is really you, right? They
Yeah,
bring something different out of you, and you feel like
yeah,
you can be yourself a little bit more, or you find yourself along the way, like, oh, something will trigger, like, oh, he's 6 years old and he's doing this. Oh, when I was 6, I did that and this
yeah, totally.
together. And as they grow, the more you start to kind of grow through things that you've been through in your past. So
1000%.
kids are crazy. How old are your kids?
My kids are 8 and 11, soon
Okay.
to be 9 and 12, which is just a whole
Oh,
other world. But yeah, super fun.
yeah, lots of things happening in that time, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, mine are a little bit littler, and slowly but surely they're coming into their own. So it's interesting with branding and finding my own voice and coming into my own world, watching them do it as, children. I just want them to feel like they can be themselves and not be mute.
Yeah,
And hopefully, with whatever this ends up leaving behind in my life, they know they can be themselves, and
yeah,
Henry won't be there to shut them down.
yeah. Love it.
Fucking Henry. Um,
Henry. Damn you, Henry. He probably is your number one podcast fan. You just don't know. Henry's gonna be like, God damn you, Jason.
I know, he's like, can you pick me out? Like I get a personal email.
Yeah, you get a personal. Yeah, this is used without permission for sure.
Right. Okay, so we're almost out of time. But I do have one more kind of closing thing that I like
Sure,
to
sneak it
ask.
in. Oh, dangerous.
I know. Ooh. Um, if your industry had a mute button, what's the one thing you'd make sure was permanently unmuted? It's a
I
twist.
mean,
It's a
I
twisty.
feel like I feel like this is the thing I would say any time, but I like your twist on it.
Hmm.
I would hope that people realize what they're truly capable of.
Yeah.
Like just deep down, man. Like I just think the reason why the Prove Them Wrong book is such a passionate plea for me is I just know that so many people have been told so many lies about themselves that they've started to believe it. And I don't think that's just specific to this industry,
Yeah.
but I think this industry gets a little more than their fair share of it.
Mm,
Is when when you take a career, like people do this because they love it, not because they got into it for the money. Like my friends who are attorneys, I have a couple friends who are attorneys. They got into it because they knew they could make great money.
right.
And like people don't get into the salon, spa, beauty industry because they're like, man, I can make so much money in that industry. Like that's not why they do it. They do it because they absolutely love it.
Right.
And what I'm here to teach people is you can love it and you can make money from it, and they don't have to be. It's not one or the other. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget being a kid in like junior high, and they had to go up to. I'll never forget. They had us do this math exercise,
Mm,
and my teacher, Mrs. Anushin, had us go up to the board and pick out of this list of jobs.
mm.
And it said, what do you want to do when you grow up? If you don't have any ideas, go and read it off the list. But it was organized by income.
Oh.
And I just walked up and I'm like, well, if it's organized by income, clearly I want to know what's at the top. And it was an attorney. And I'm like, I'm going to be an attorney. And like, I didn't really want to be an attorney. It just, I could build, like, we had to do this exercise. We had to build a house with the amount of income that we had. And we had to do a bunch of
Mhm.
math and all this stuff. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, I want to build the biggest house. So I'm going to go to the attorney and whatever. And it was really cool.
Right.
And I was like, that's it. And I'm like, man, I don't want people to value their self worth based on their bank account balance.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that's there is like, I have a friend of mine who literally is a billionaire. He sold two companies for over $1 billion.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I asked him, I said, hey, his name's Sharon. And I said, Sharon, um, dude, I really look up to you. Like, thank you so much for being just somebody I can look to. And he goes, Jason, don't ever look up to anybody
Mm.
because it implies that you're beneath them.
Yeah.
You are not beneath me. And he's like, money or anything else, you're just another human being on this planet, just like me, man. And
Yeah.
I learn from you, you learn from me. Don't ever look up to somebody because it implies they are looking down on you. And
Mm.
I was like, dude, mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah.
And I was like, thanks, man. Like that meant a lot. And it made me realize, like, thank you. I mean, what first of all, for what a humble thing for that dude to say. But also
Absolutely.
it was just a good reminder of like, I mean, I there are people that I look to for inspiration, but I
Hmm.
don't look up to people like maybe one day I'll get there. Like I'm like, no, man, I can have that today. And I think that's part of, the value of people is not based on their bank account or their job title.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a wonderful way to end this. I feel like that's very unmuted.
Let's go.
Hey, yeah. I appreciate your time. Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much for coming. I'm so glad I ended up watching you that day and you were able to come. I can't wait to see everything else you're about to do and continue doing.
Thank you.
And I will hopefully be in touch to go jump out of a plane or walk some fire or I don't know, throw up
Call
some.
me up if when you're just like, hey, I need to do something crazy. You know who to text. That's all I'm saying. So I probably have
Absolutely.
something going on. Cool. Thank you for having me on the show. You do an
Yeah.
amazing job, and thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Say bye, Lola.
Lola.